Morning, students. So, in the last video lecture, we had discussed about Unit 2, two of the topics of Unit 2, that is importance of the safe water supply and the domestic water supply requirements, that is the water demand. We have discussed these two topics in detail. Today, in this lecture, we will discuss about the sources of intake of water supply. Okay, so let us get there first. So, what are the sources of, for supplying the water? We need some sources. From where do we collect the water? Source. From where, which source will provide us the water that is required to supply in the city? So, we need a source. So, this, the findings of the source. There is a search for this source. Where can we find this source? The various sources of water available for supply are, first is they are divided into two categories. One is the surface sources, and another is subsurface sources. Surface sources which are available on the surface, like ponds and lakes, streams and rivers, storage reservoirs and dams. So these are surface sources. These are on the surface of the earth. Subsurface sources are is the underground water. Is the water available beneath the ground? That is your groundwater, having certain water table. So these consist of your springs, your infiltration wells and galleries, and tube wells and open wells. So these are below the groundwater, below the ground. These sources of water are available. So now, for the surface sources, ponds and lakes. Ponds and lakes are nothing but big depression. Anything that suppose a big depression occurs. Okay, like lakes are lakes may be hundreds and thousands of years formed, hundreds and thousands of years ago because of some depression. The depressions may be falling of some meteors, or due to any maybe any reason, some devastation occurred due to earthquake or something other natural calamity. So because of that, some depression will be formed, and if precipitation occurs, that is rainfall occurs, the water gets stored, so that forms a lake. Okay, then you have streams and rivers. You know what is streams? Small, very small streams joining finally to rivers. Some of the our civil engineering students have already learned about the streams, rivers, ponds and lakes in your hydrology course in water resources. Okay, so storage reservoirs, again, these are dams or reservoirs that are built across a river in order to store water. Now, your ponds and lakes. Okay, so ponds and these are nothing but this again, the quantity will vary in this resource, in the sources. Your in ponds and lakes will carry a different quantity of water, whereas rivers and streams and larger rivers, tributaries, they will carry large quantity of water. Now another thing, uh, now we know about the sources. The another thing is, how do these sources get replenished? Replenished means how the water is being available for years and years, for hundreds of years and thousands of years. If you are taking out water, how does it? How does the water remain in the vicinity of the source, or in the source itself? How does the water remain intact? So there is a hydrological cycle. You need to understand this. So what is a hydrological cycle or the water cycle? It is the movement or the circulation of water on the surface of the earth from the atmosphere. So what happens is, when the earth's surface gets heated, okay, intense heat occurs during summer, even in other seasons also. Due to intense heating, the water that is available in all these surface sources, okay, they evaporate. They evaporate and they form water vapor. They rise up in the atmosphere. They form clouds. And when the clouds are heavy, they strike each other, and the water that falls as precipitation or rainfall. Sometimes as snowfall also. So rainfall, again they come back to the surface of the earth. So whatever rainfall is occurring, some of the rainfall will fall again in this depression, in the streams and the rivers. Okay, streams and the rivers, rainfall will fall, and whatever rainfall is falling, whatever precipitation is falling on the surface of the earth. Okay, after all the interceptions, after all the reductions, whatever is falling on the surface of the earth, some part will always infiltrate into the ground, which gets stored into the groundwater. which is called as groundwater recharge. The part which doesn't infiltrate, they flow on the surface of the earth, which is called as surface runoff. Now these surface runoffs, these will flow on the surface of the earth. This may be surface, may be anything. They may be rough surface, they may be smooth surface, and depending on their coefficient of runoffs, you have already studied these things in hydrology. These surface runoffs will collect. Okay, this will flow into small streams, and these small streams will join into some tributaries, and then these tributaries will join a major stream or a major river. So minor streams will join major streams, and then these major streams will join a river. So this is how the water is being replenished. So this is the concept of hydrological cycle. This is how, since water is a renewable resource, as I told you earlier, it's a renewable resource. However, how much quantity you use it, it will never get uh, there will never be a scarcity of water because of these hydrological cycles going on for like millions of years. So this is how it is done. Again, the water that is being stored, the scarcity will always occur in this part, the subsurface part. In some portions, like in uh, some parts of Rajasthan mainly, where it's majorly a dry climate season, the groundwater table is much below. So what we need to do is we need to bore wells, which are called tube wells. There are open wells. Open wells you have seen in this portion of these tube wells and open wells. These you will mainly find in the rural areas, the villages. Okay. For water supply in villages, you'll find gram panchayats. They'll perform operations or activities to construct tube wells or open wells. So this has very limited amount of water resource or water supply, but that will suffice the water requirement needs in rural areas, because your lifestyle in rural areas is very simple. The rural people doesn't require the amount of water that the urban person will need. And again, similarly, these are infiltration wells and galleries. These are recharge agencies. Okay, when the water falls on the surface, this is being collected in the infiltration wells and galleries, and then they are finally percolated into the groundwater. Okay, springs are natural. Springs, sometimes you find some natural opening in the surface of the earth from where water is flowing up. Okay, so due to the pressure from inside, the water is flowing up, and there is a constant. You have springs. You might have come across many natural springs in your away from your vicinity. So this is another example. So these are the various sources on which the water is available for water supply. Now, and, the replenishment of water, the ensurement of the thing that makes us believe that water will always be there is the hydrological cycle. The concept of hydrological cycle, all of you know. Now the next part is, what are the factors that govern the selection of a particular source of water? So for this, there are 5 factors. First is the quantity of available water. Now the quantity of water available meet the various demands during the entire design period of the scheme. So you have designed, say, water supply projects are normally designed for, say, 30 years, 40 years. Okay. So depending on the size of the city and the population and all that. So sometimes the water resources may be mobilized for the present day demand, and extra units added with the passage of time. So if sufficient quantity of water is not available in the vicinity of water, we may have to think of bringing water from distant sources. So this is, if suppose you have chosen a source, thinking that the quantity of water available will be sufficient, but in the future you find that the demands are increasing and the source is not providing the sufficient quantity, then you might have to change the source. So this is a very important factor in deciding the source. So this has to be decided very early on. This is one of the major factors impacting the choice of your source of water supply. Another is the quality. If you are selecting a source, suppose which has plenty of water available, okay, there is the quantity wise, it is never a problem, but quality may be severely polluted. Okay, severely polluted. Like there is growth of algae and other organisms, and there people are animals are being slaughtered and thrown there. There may be many other problems. So this is a very polluted source. In that case, the quality of water available in the sources is extremely deteriorated, and you cannot directly supply. As I told in the earlier class, you cannot directly supply. And in that case, what you need to do, you have to do water treatment, and because the quality has degraded uh, rapidly, okay, the deterioration of water is rapid in this scenario. So the cost of water treatment will be very high. So in that case, we'll what we do, we not select the source where the quality is very bad. At least the source should have some limit, some degree of quality. So that is desirable. Okay. Another is the distance of the source of supply. If the source of supply, say the river or the stream, okay, majorly we select always river system because they are perennial. Your lakes and ponds, what happens with lakes and ponds is lakes and ponds may dry up. They are not, they do not contain water all the during the entire year. Also, some rivers also dry up, but there are rivers, perennial rivers, which flow across all seasons. These rivers are called as perennial rivers, and like the Ganga, like the Godavari, major rivers of India, they are always perennial rivers. You do not have scarcity of water in any season. Okay, so water supply, that is a good source of water supply. So you choose the source of river, so the source of water, maybe a river or a stream, which is always perennial. So in that case, your demand, whatever the demand may be, that will always be met. It will always be sufficient. The water quantity that available, that will always be sufficient. So in that case, now that if the distance of the source of supply, if the distance is more, your cost of what transportation will be more, cost of conduit laying will be more. You have to select the source in such a way that it is it should not be very far from the city. You understand what I'm saying? So that distance is a very important factor here. So rivers which like if you are selecting a river which is in some another city, very far, say for example, which is 300 kilometers away from, so that is not desirable. So if it is nearby to the city, like Kanpur city for example is located on the banks of the river Ganga. Likewise, you have many cities which are located on river. If you do not have a river flowing through a city, then you build dams. Okay, then the water supply is taken from the reservoir. When a dam is built, the purpose of building a dam is storing the water in the reservoir, so that in the dry season you can supply the water according to the demand. So that is the only purpose for one of the major reasons for constructing a dam. Again, general topography of the intervening. How the topography of the city is laid. You know, if there is too much of uphills and upslopes, then your cost of transportation will be more because it will be difficult to transport the water. Laying of pipes will be difficult in the city. So if the topography is plain, if the topography is downhill, then it is cost will be less. So these are some of the factors. Again, elevation of the source of supply. If the source is located from a very high supply, okay, from a higher elevation, then what will happen? Your head losses will be less because the water elevation of the top of the reservoir and the water elevation in the pipe at the end of the city, the difference of this water elevation will be equal to the head loss. The lesser the difference, the lesser the head loss, and more water will be supplied efficiently there. So these things we have to keep in mind while selecting the water supply. Source of water must be on a high contour lying sufficiently higher than the city or town to be supplied with water so as to make gravity flow possible. Again, in the next topic, we'll study about the intake towers and the conduits. Okay, last topic that will be remaining in this unit. So in that thing, we'll study gravity conduits and pressure conduits. So if you are providing pressure conduits, there will be additional cost. So it is always desirable to provide gravity conduits so that you just have to lay the conduits and water will flow automatically under the action of gravity. You do not need to do anything there. Understand? So the elevation is again a very important point. These are some of the points. In the next class, the next video lecture, we'll discuss about the other next topic, that is this topic, impacts and transportation of water. So this will be the only topic that is remaining. Now with when after this topic is covered, the unit 2 will be covered. We'll move to unit 3. Thank you very much for listening to this video.